Okay, before we move on and look at the actual notation for this sequence that we've written here, for this cue, this opening sequence, let's do a quick little analysis. I kind of blazed through the analysis while I was writing it, and I want to just show you exactly what I did here. So let's look at each element. First of all, this ostinato. Now I told you it was really all just C minor, but let me just show you how exactly. Here is a C minor chord. C, G, and E sharp. Now E flat, Ableton always writes stuff in sharps. Almost all sequencers do. So these are going to look as D sharp, even though we should call them E flat if we're living by the rules of music theory. So I'm probably going to call it E flat because that's just how my brain works. So C, G, E flat. This is a C minor triad. Now I've got these other notes in here that are not in the C minor triad, but if we were in the key of C minor and just played up the first 5 notes of a C minor scale, those notes would be C, D, E flat, F, G. Those are the first 5 notes of C minor right there. So I've really just gone up a scale. I've really just gone up a C minor scale here. So in doing that, I have outlined in kind of significant points the C minor triad, meaning it's the lowest note, it's the highest note. The third is not really at any kind of significant point, but this really feels like a C minor triad. But even leaving the triad away from it, it's the first 5 notes of the C minor scale. So keep that in mind. It's going to be very heavily C minor feeling. So with that in mind, let's look at the next element, which is this chord progression. So let's do a quick little analysis of what we did here. So this is a 4-chord repeating pattern. So this top note, D sharp, D, D, C, it's probably repeated right here, D sharp, D, D, C. So I'm going to scroll down. So that top note is just a higher octave of this line right here. So I don't need to look at it to do an analysis because I have the same notes down here. So I have these 2-note chords all over the place, right? And that's cool. So we remember from theory that in a 2-note chord, we can't always tell exactly what chord it is because we need 3 notes. But keeping in mind that we're in the key of C minor pretty strongly because of that ostinato, we can probably take a good guess at what these chords are doing. So C and D sharp here. Let's call that E flat, and then we have C minor triad. Pretty clearly, we don't have the 5th, but we have the root and the 3rd, which is really what you need in order to figure out the chord. You can live without the 5th. It's not that big a deal. So cool. So C minor here. Here we have an A and a D. Now this is going to be an interesting one. This is a 4th. That doesn't tell us a lot. If we invert it and imagine the D is on the bottom, let's just do it. Now we have a 5th. So we could be in a D chord here. The 5th we're missing is either F or F sharp. We don't really know. In the key of C minor, the correct note would be F. But we know from looking at our ostinato up here, we have Fs. We don't have F sharps. So we could assume there's an F in there that we're hearing in the ostinato. We're not hearing it in the chord, but we are hearing it in the ostinato. So that's probably what we're filling out kind of in our head. So let's call that a D minor. C minor, D minor. Now I've cheated a hair right here because A, natural, is actually not in C minor. This should be in A flat if we're sticking to C minor. But I can get away with it because there's no A in our ostinato. Here we stop at G. If we went up one higher, it would be an A flat. So this isn't contradicting with anything like that. Remember, the 2 chord of our minor diatonic chord progression is a diminished chord. So what I've done here is I've kind of cheated by raising that A flat to A natural and making it a minor chord and not a diminished chord, because I don't really want a diminished chord here. So that A is actually not in key, but it's a pretty safe cheat to do a minor 2 chord. Okay, let's move on. G and D. Here I have another 5th. If I was going to fill that out and guess what that third is, it could be B or it could be B flat. Let's look at what we have going in our ostinato. We have neither B or B flat. So we don't really know. But in the key of C minor, we have B flat, which would make this a G minor chord. Probably our safest bet. So we have C minor, D minor, G minor, all kinds of minor happening here. F and C for our last chord, another 5th. Just moved down. Probably also a minor, but this could go either way. Actually, this is a really interesting one, because in key we have that missing third would be A flat right there. But we've already kind of cheated ourselves into using an A natural over here. So whether this is a major or a minor chord, we kind of don't know because we have conflicting information. I'm going to leave it out just so I don't change anything right now. But so probably F minor. You could call it an F major though. Either way, it could be fine. So that is our chord progression. Just those 4 chords cycling over and over. Let's see what else we've got. Up here we have the same chord progression again. Ostinato again, just a whole bunch of C minor. Okay, let's get to here. Here's our second ostinato. What do we have here? So just to remind you, that's this. Oops. Okay, that is C, C, G, E flat, C minor, big and bold right there. And now we have a couple other notes from our C minor scale. There's an F and a C, another C and another G. So actually just F. Everything else is just C minor triad except for that F. The one difference that I made is when I did it down here. Yeah, right here, it's playing C, 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 and then the second half of the pattern. Up here, I added an octave up there. So it just jumps up an octave, which gives it a little bit of energy. Really just one more thing, I think, and that's this little colorful thing that I added. This little flourish here. Let's look at that. Zoom in on it a little bit. All I did here was just run through a C minor chord. So E flat, F, that's not in it. That's probably just a sloppy piano playing. C, E flat, another C. And that's it. So really just C minor triad. There's an F that creeped in there, but who cares? It's cool. Here's another one. E flat, there's that F that creeped in. C, E flat, C, E flat, there's another F. C, E flat, so another C at the top. So just C, C minor with a F in it. Here's that dissonant chord we made, just a C minor triad. And remember, I snuck this F sharp in here just to give it a little bit of dissonance. So this is just a ton of C minor. That A natural in the chord progression is just kind of the only thing I really cheated on. And I guess this F sharp. That's a little bit of a cheat, but totally okay. So when you're working on something, you don't have to think about making a really elaborate chord progression or anything like that. Sometimes all you need is an ostinato and a key, and you can be off and running pretty fast. Okay, with that, let's look at the notation file. I'm going to give you that for those of you that like to work in more traditional notation in the next video.